This is British Rallying's away day, a 17-stage, 250-mile marathon on the sport's most famous island, on some of rallying's most iconic special stages. This is the 2023 Manx Rally, and for competitors of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, it forms the second and third round of the series. The fight for asphalt rallying's most prestigious title resumes then here in the Isle of Man. Welcome to Special Stage. I'm Paul Woodford, and along with Phil Bramwell, I'm delighted to be bringing you live coverage throughout this two-day rally. We've already had a look at some of the crews across the start line, leaving the very start of the rally from the grandstand in Douglas, and Phil has been live for you in the first two stages of today's rally, of today's leg of the rally. There are three legs in total this morning, this evening. And tomorrow we're going to have special guests, a chance to win a really fantastic prize that I'll tell you about very soon. And of course, best of all, we have the very next best thing to a teleporter. Your very own window onto this fabulous island as you join us for the best seat in the house as the action gets underway here on the Manx Rally. The rally split then, as I said, into three legs. Friday morning kicked us off 21.5 miles this morning across four stages. Paul Varsh run twice. You saw that short sprint stage with two runs of the stage with Phil Bramwell just now. Barragaroo is currently running. It's about 8.5 miles. And then the cars are into Ingebrek here. It's an iconic bit of stage. And through the Sartfield hairpin and down over these famous jumps towards Brandywell Cottage that you can see on your screen in front of you. And they've got to get those jumps right as well, or we're seeing a little too much of angles of the cars that we don't want to be seeing today. If you make it out for this evening, it's five stages, a further 21.1 miles. Kerristal followed by Balladool twice, then a second run through Barragaroo before the famous Little London, a stage all our competitors are talking about after yesterday's recce. Had a bit of fresh tarmac down yesterday as well, and we will be live for you in that last stage of the day. And then if you make it out of tonight, ready to line up on tomorrow morning's start line, our competitors are faced with a grueling day of rally action. 84 stage miles, that's like double the stage mileage of your average multi-venue rally. Double your mileage of a BTRDA event across 8 special stages, including Newtown, Dog Mills, Curras, Baldwins. It'll be fast. It'll be hot work in this weather. You'll have noticed that blue sky. A real test for the cars and the crews in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. The stages being run in this event have been made famous by the big names like Ari Vatten and Hannu Mikkola, Tony Pond, Colin McRae, Mark Higgins. They've also caught out the very best drivers in the world. It's maximum revs, maximum focus, maximum commitment. As one competitor said to me after the recce yesterday, a glint in his eye and a slight bronzing to his forehead in this glorious Manx sunshine. Manx rallying is back to its best. A lot to live up to then over the next 17 stage miles, or 14 stage miles as we have left to go. You'll be able to follow alternate live stages with Phil Bramwell and myself throughout each leg of the rally. You can also keep your eye on the live results at rallies.info, thanks to Matthew Atkinson. And we are here in stage 4. The last of the first leg is Ingebrek. The cars have been through the double sprint stage, as I mentioned, of Paul Varsh. The longer 8 and a bit miler of Barragaroo. Now it's time for some iconic Manx scenery. They start at Little London, round the Sartfield hairpin, down through the formidable jumps in front of you towards the famous Brandywell Cottage. The cars, though, today filtering right up the hill. No hairpin past the cottage on day one, but we'll be back for that bit of glory on tomorrow's Baldwin stage. From the bottom end of Druidale down towards the reservoir at West Baldwin, and then up towards Brandywell Cottage. We're looking forward to that tomorrow. Plenty of stage miles to go before then, though. So as I say, the competitors are in the third stage of the day, Barragaroo. At the moment, David Wright looks like he's taken the lead off Callum Black. You should see, though, last year's runner-up hoping to take the title. Certainly one of our title protagonists, taking the perfect line, keeping things straight in that Rally 2 Fiesta. It's Neil Ruskell. Andrew Ruffhead, bit of a warm-up for this rally. He won his very first rally in that Rally 2 Fiesta at Clacton very recently. He was a bit unsure as to what setup to take on the car after the recce yesterday. He was thinking, his heart was saying soft. The sky and the conditions were saying soft, but he was thinking it had to be hard. He was just a bit concerned about some of the surfaces in some of the stages, and particularly the Little London stage, having a bit of resurfacing done, so it'll be a very different looking surface to what our crews saw yesterday. 8th overall on the season opener, the Reed Group East Riding stages, then Neil Roskell. Up next, a man who knows these stages. He loves these stages. He won the rally in 2017. He has a man alongside him who won in 2013 and knows these roads like the back of his hand. These are his local roads. It's Hugh Hunter and Rob Fagg. You'll notice it is flat through here. Absolutely flat chat in the past. There's been a chicane just down on that corner before the junction where the cars slot right, I think it was. Getting things slowed down. None of that here this weekend. Flat over these jumps, and as you look at those jumps, you've seen it with our first two competitors. You need to see the cars, if they've got the right line, really hugging the inside bank on that first of the jumps. And then it sets you up nice and straight for the second. You've got to commit. If you don't commit, you're either having to scrub off speed or the scenery will be scrubbing off speed for you. You've got to get the line right over these two jumps. This should be our rally leader by 4 seconds coming into this stage. Oh, just a bit of a wiggle there. Technical term for David Wright and Paula Swinscoe. Just a slight lift going up the hill. And onto the brakes. A fully broadside around the top. Right-hander just going out of view. That's maximum commitment. You can see why if you're looking at the live leaderboard. Wow. David Wright, Paula Swinscoe were leading then after those first 3 stages. Callum Black, Jack Morton came out of the blocks fastest though in that really smart Rally 2 Fiesta that you'll see shortly. Black with gold livery. This is the live coverage of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. So we will be concentrating our efforts and our main focus will be on that championship battle. But of course there are crews not registered for the championship. You'll see them on your screens and we will talk you through the general event results as well. There is our reigning champion. Neat, tidy and flat to the mat for Steve Wood. Kenny Hull alongside. His championship defence really getting underway for real here after a DNF at the opening round in East Yorkshire. Came second on the most recent Chris Kelly Memorial Rally here on the Isle of Man. So he's done his homework. That's the best kind of homework, isn't it? Just talking about non-registered crews for a moment, Melvin Evans looks like he's had a pretty rough start to the event, down in 12th place after the first couple of stages with Alan Davies alongside. And here is that really smart Rally 2 Fiesta, very sideways for Callum Black and a dab of the brakes coming into this flat right before slotting up the hill at that junction that you see on your screens. A little bit nervous for Callum, his first event on 4-wheel drive on asphalt. And looking for a really strong result today. He was confident. We spoke to him at the start. If you saw the live stream, if you didn't, you can have a look back and have a look at some of the crew's reactions as they left the grandstand in Douglas. There was a lot of anticipation in the build-up to today's rally, probably the product as well of a few months between the first round and this, which is the second and the third round, effectively, this Manx rally of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. A lot of anticipation, a lot of, I'd say, confidence. You know, sometimes you're staring at a bleak, very wet, very windy, very challenging Isle of Man at the start of one of these rallies. Certainly it's almost 10 years since I last came here, but I don't remember having many days where I was left wondering whether I put enough sun cream on. Today is one of those days, and it did lead to a nice feeling for our crews. There was a really nice atmosphere as they left the grandstand this morning, and there was a lot of fighting talk, actually. And one of those people talking about having to go full chat from the off, and a lot of fighting talk inside a Mark II Escort that today, this weekend, was wearing a very different livery thanks to having a new sponsor on board, Haldane Fisher, with a couple of building supplies depots over here in the Isle of Man, as well as quite a few, 20 or so I think, on mainland UK, was Darren Atkinson. Mark Twynham alongside. We're hearing that Darren and Mark have had quite a sizable off on the last stage, Barragaroo. Paul Morris our hard-working championship coordinator, bringing us that news, and also thankfully bringing us the news that the crew are okay. We do think it was a bit of a, and it would be a sizable accident, wouldn't it, on that stage? If you know the stage, and they will have been absolutely committed. Flat chat. As are this pair. John Stone, Laura Connell alongside. 7th place at the opening round. 3rd place in the Pro Time Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship last season. And 3rd place on the Chris Kelly Memorial Rally as well. Another crew that know these roads well. John's been fast straight out of the blocks in 6th place, and be one of the quieter cars inside the cockpit this weekend. I say that because Laura had lost her voice, and when I say lost her voice, completely lost her voice yesterday. John reporting that the recce was fairly interesting, with a few squeaky, husky grunts from Laura at the other side of the car. Laura not perhaps feeling her best yesterday, as we see. Now, said we had to get tight into that inside bank, didn't I, on the first of the jumps that you saw on the screen there. But Kevin Davies, Owain Davies, really did get tight. They took a bit of a chunk out of that Welsh Road Rally crew, not afraid to modify this scenery with their front right wheel if they have to, and they're certainly doing that there. It's a risky strategy so early on in the event to be widening the road in that way, but using all of the road and a little bit more, and we love to see that. We're only on stage 4 of 17 here on the Manx Rally. So yeah, pleased to see Laura Connell looking a lot better this morning, and John reporting that perhaps the voice still not up to scratch, so it'll be a bit quieter than usual inside that car, but I'm sure those dulcet Irish tones will be back as the day goes on, and as Laura finds her feet inside Scottish tones, inside that Polo R5. That was a faux pas, wasn't it, Producer Wayne? Producer Wayne just fell over when I got that one wrong. Great to have you with us. Welcome to Special Stage. We're going to be live with you throughout the weekend, or throughout the 2 days of the Manx Rally, rounds 2 and 3 of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. Nice straight line through those 2 jumps from another man who quite wide into that junction right up the hill through the cattle grid. Melvin Evans, Anna Davies, not registered for championship points and struggling this morning with the stages a little off the pace, it has to be said. So of the crews currently through this 4th stage, David Wright, Paula Swinsko still in the lead, and a convincing lead after just 4 stages actually over Callum Black and Jack Morton. 13.6 seconds the advantage after 4. Bit of a break now for our crews before the evening leg here on day 1. Hugh Hunter, Rob Fagg are going well. Further 8 seconds back from Callum Black. Battle of the Rally 2 Fiestas for 2nd place, and then Neil Ruskell, Andrew Roughhead, fresh from that maiden victory in the Rally 2 car on Clacton as a warm-up. Runner-up in the championship last year, looking for one better in 2023. As you see, the first of our non-Rally 2 or R5 competitors, Wayne Sisson, Perida Davies alongside in that Mitsubishi Evo 10. Lovely bit of shiny chrome silver livery glinting in the sunshine, and I asked Wayne this morning if he'd polished his rally driving up just as well as he'd polished that car, and he meekly nodded and said we'll see, as he stared down the barrel of 17 stage miles. 17 special stages, 137 competitive miles on this year's event, 259 overall event mileage. That is a marathon. Longest stage around 8 and a bit miles long, the Barragaroo stage. I think that's the longest we've got that the competitors have just been through. We'll see from that stage again later this evening on the 2nd leg when the rally gets back underway after a bit of a break, and another big cut there from a man who knows these roads well enough to perhaps know better, or perhaps give us a sign that that is the way to do it. Steve Colley, Kirsty Duke alongside one of Isle of Man's resident stuntmen, Steve, and showing his stunt credentials very well there, coming over that bank on the inside. You grimaced at me, Producer Wayne. Is he not a stuntman? I thought he was. He is a stuntman. Wait, on 2 wheels. Okay, don't grimace at me like that. I think I've got it wrong again, like Laura Connell being an Irish lady. We won't go there again. Steve Colley, as you just saw in that very colourful Evo, being driven very colourfully as well, just taking a chunk of the inside of that bank, and we've seen 2 cars doing that now. Kevin Davies doing the same. I said they had to be straight. Well, if you want to be straight, you perhaps have to modify the scenery just a little bit. Collie did win the 2015 rally with Andrew Cowley alongside, so we shouldn't doubt his approach to that part of the stage, should we? Gareth Mimner, Barry McCarney alongside, over from Ireland. Big sticker on the driver's rear window behind Gareth, remembering Craig Breen as he left the Douglas grandstand this morning. Craig still, of course, as well as everyone else we've lost in this sport through natural or other causes, very much on our minds as we go into a rally weekend, and still very painfully fresh. Craig Breen, of course. Welcome to our live coverage. If you're just tuning in, great to have you with us. This is the 2023 Manx Rally, and we'd love to know where you're watching from. We'll do a bit of a recap on the competition today very soon, and Ed James, famous of course from our coverage of the MRF Tyres BTRDA Rally Championship, has got a picture of the setup in their service area. I'm pleased to see that Special Stages front and centre in their service area plans today. As you see, a man who again nailed his colours to the mast at the start in Douglas, Steve Allman-Smith, Dafford Evans alongside. He said he'd be flying from the off, and he was flying enough to take out the bottom of the front bumper as he came off that second jump. That car obviously flicking up off the second jump there, and they maybe saw a little bit too much road as they came down for what ended up being an okay landing in the end. This jump, or these jumps, have in the past caught out some very big names. Indeed, talking of Craig Breen, he holds the record, the stage record for the shortest ever stage run on the Isle of Man, the 0.9 mile stage of Villa Marina on the promenade in Douglas. Not run anymore, so that is, and the furniture's changed around there. You probably couldn't run a stage around there anymore, so perhaps that stage time, that record will live in infamy, as will the driver, George Collister, in Postlethwaite. Another of our local Manx crews in their 328 BMW, flying nicely over those jumps. Where is the model car gone? Producer Wayne. I don't know if the camera can just pan around very quickly. This is a model of a Manx rally winning Ford Focus WRC of Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark. This is a model, thanks to rallymodels.co.uk, that you could win on today's coverage of the Manx Rally here in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. All you've got to do to win this model, to get yourself in a draw, is predict correctly our top 3 overall at the end of 2 days of competition. You can do it on any of today's live streams, so as the results shape up later on, you can adjust your vote and vote again on a later stream if you so wish. Get your vote in now, comment with your top 3, and as we did on the BTRDA event last out, we will give away a themed model car thanks to rally-models.co.uk. Really excited about giving away these cars. Very cool. Max Bradshaw, Liam Andrew Whiteley through in their Mitsubishi. Again, not registered for Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship points. If you're watching this back, if your team's in the service area, and you do fancy getting a bit more of the action here in the live coverage, then you can still enter the championship. You still can throw your hat in the ring of perhaps rallying's most prestigious asphalt rally series. I would certainly say so, and I fully recommend that you do that. Any car that you see with the Pro Tyre banner across the top of the windscreen is fighting for the title, or for a class title at the very least in this year's series. Marty Toner, Ben Taggett, having a nice roaring run through this 4th stage of the day. We're hearing that Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh have stopped. Is it in this stage, Producer Wayne, or in the last one? Right, so hot off the press is that Steve Simpson and Patrick Walsh have stopped in that Rally 2 Fiesta on this stage. I say stopped rather than crashed because that's all we've got at the moment. Hello to Alex Waterman, John Hamilton joining us on the coverage. Sam Collis, there's some fair sunglasses, he says. They're actually Ken Block sunglasses, so hands off. Good to have you with us, guys. It's nice to be wearing sunglasses, to be honest with you. Coming into this rally, I was watching that fantastic bit of coverage of Mark Higgins doing the Brandywell Cottage stage in his Honda Civic. Remember the Castrol car? Great bit of one of the best things on YouTube. And there is Rory McCann, Paul McCann alongside local crew in their Civic. Very soft setup on a suspension, bouncing around as it went up the hill there and just bottoming out the sump guard rear bumper, But flying nicely over the first couple of jumps into view. Phil White's going to get his guess in for the top three. 1, Hugh Hunter. 2, Neil Roskell. 3, Melvin Evans. Interesting top three. I tell you what, it's a good job we're leaving the voting open until the last stage of the day tonight, because that's going to be some top three to predict. Great to have you with us, Michael Staunton. Jamie Forrest, wishing he was with us on the rock. We wish you were here too, mate. Doesn't that sound good? William Lease. Sarah Cool alongside in their hard-charging Escort, another local crew. Blipping, heel and towing through the gears and then just sending that Escort into the right-hander out of the screen at the top. A right-hander that Callum Black went ever so sideways on as he came through this stage. That man on a real charge. Ian Taylor says, good afternoon from work in West Wales. Great coverage as always. Well, let's hope your boss isn't watching, pal. Chris Williams has guessed his top three. Okay. David Wright, Kevin Davies, Callum Black. That's an interesting one, actually. Ben Williams enjoying the coverage from the workshop at raceshocks.uk. Good to have you with us. Remember, get your guesses in for the rally top three. You could win that rally-models.co.uk scale model of Jason Pritchard's Manx Rally winning Ford Focus WRC. As you see, Joe McEnd flying through in that Subaru. Not much backing off going up the hill there. 13th overall on the opening round of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, the Regrew Beast riding stages. Looks like he's getting in the rhythm quite quickly on today's running of the event. First Manx Rally was in 1963. The most successful drivers ever include Mark Higgins with 5 wins to his name. Tony Pond, legend, 4 wins to his name. And he's on a par with Russell Brooks, also with 4. Tell you what, I said it as it left Douglas this morning. It sounds cracking. That Fiesta Rally 3 of William Hill. Richard Crozier alongside, 16th on the opening round, the East Riding stages a few months ago. It seems a long, long time ago, doesn't it? And that Rally 3 Fiesta, they're really getting to grips with it. It gets faster every time out. Interestingly, the 00 car is a Ford Puma ST. And that sounded great going past us earlier as well. It's not helping with my hankering for a Ford Puma ST, I've got to say. Must stop these thoughts. They can be dangerous. If you're just tuning in, plenty of you tuning in, given it's a Friday, and most of you are probably at work, naughty, naughty. Good to have you with us. This is Special Stage. I'm Paul Woodford, and I'm joined by Phil Bramwell on the coverage this weekend. In fact, it's a bit of an old-school Special Stage lineup. We've got Luke Harvey back with us filming this weekend, producer Wayne with us, and Luke Leonard with us filming what you're watching on your screen at the moment. Great to be back with the team. And here's a local crew who know how to fly over those jumps and know how to send that BMW into these corners. May have been around 10 years since I last came to the Isle of Man, but wow, do I remember that BMW being thrown around here on the rock. It's Karine Kex Walker, Danny Matthews alongside in Class D. Local crew not registered for the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. Quite a few local crews joining us here. Chris Williams enjoying a half day at work on the Friday. Jonas Joshua Waller saying, fantastic viewpoint. It is a good viewpoint, isn't it? Iconic bit of stage. Sartfield hairpin out of view at the top of the hill, coming down and then over these jumps. Brandywell Cottage just maybe not visible on your screen, but it's just before as the cars slot right up the hill at that junction. If you went straight on, there is Brandywell on your left. Just, what, 600 yards up the road, if that. Andrew Bird plug pulling, making the trip like I did from Yorkshire. Backing off for the cattle grid. I'll tell you what, there's not many rallies that you'll do with cattle grids. The Isle of Man cattle grids all have a 3-ton weight loading, so you're absolutely fine in a rally prepared Escort. But I bet as you hit that slight compression going up where the road levels out and you go through the gate posts, which are, believe me, we've done them very slowly. I remember going very sideways in a Volvo V70 back in the day. Producer Wayne will be nodding behind his camera box. Yes, scary moment. One that will stay with me for a very long time. So you're absolutely fine on the way to them, but when you hit those cattle grids in these cars, it must, at that speed, feel quite daunting if you're not used to doing it. And let's face it, how many people go 100 mile an hour over cattle grids on a daily basis? Another crew taking a very tight line, and a crew who we expect to go well. They were fired up yesterday after the recce. Brad Cole, Neil Coleman didn't finish the Chris Kelly Memorial Rally, and needs to take less of the scenery on the inside of cuts on massive, formidable, very famous or infamous jumps if he wants to finish this weekend's rally. That would be my top tip for Brad Cole and Neil Coleman, but it's very entertaining, isn't it? 12th overall on the season opener, the Reed Group East Riding stages for Brad, and the talk is that we might see him in an R5 before long, which would be very interesting, wouldn't it? Pete Gorst, one of our regular stars of the special stage live coverage of the BTRDA this season, and his 1400 Nova, of course 1400 Bronze Star champion, watching with us. Pete gutted for Darren Atkinson and Mark Twynham in that newly liveried Mark II Escort. Yeah, we are as well. I was looking forward to seeing them through here. Scott Morris is watching whilst in the tractor. That sounds like a good place to be, especially if the weather in the sky is anything like as sunny and as blue as we've got it here on the Isle of Man. Or in fact, are you on the Isle of Man? You might be. You might be. Chris Stewart, Ari Vatanen will attest. What to? The cattle grids. Yes, of course, I was watching that one as well. Yes. Dear God. Came the call from the co-driver Terry Harriman as they went over that cattle grid. That was down. Was that down towards Faulty Will? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, scary moment. Even watching it all these years later. Mark Corlett sitting across the road. Can you keep the noise down, please? No better place to be. That must mean you are sat in that Range Rover Evoque, one of our valued marshals this weekend. Real army of volunteers in any rally, but particularly here. On a monster 17-stage rally. Damien Toner quite out of position. Gordon Morrison and Ian Parker not so. I'm just trying to juggle. I'm trying to juggle the entry list along with the event results. And see what you guys are saying as well. Which, I've got to say, juggling all these things when the weather is this glorious is actually a pleasure. It's not a problem. It's when it's raining and windy like it was. Wow, was it rainy and windy in Scotland in the Border Counties rally last weekend? Blimey, still haven't quite dried out from that one. Hello to Johnny Tad Evans watching with us. Don't forget you need to predict your top three like Stuart Brown has done. Roskell, Hunter. Who's Stevie going for? Steve Wood, I presume. Richard Clues, Carl Williamson through in their impress. I'm not sure if they're registered for the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. I know Richard was talking about this yesterday. I'm not sure what the result of that was. I didn't actually happen to notice whether the Pro Tyre sticker... Oh, yeah, actually, The Pro Tyre sticker is firmly emblazoned across the top at the front of that Subaru. So welcome to the title hunt, Richard Clues. This is coverage of round 2 and 3 of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. It's stage 4 of 17, let that sink in, of the 2023 Manx Rally. And as one competitor put it to me yesterday, with mileage like this, with stage layouts like this, iconic sections thrown back into the mix, and with an entry list bursting at the seams like this one is, Manx Rallying is back at its very best this weekend, and we're delighted to be here with the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. And even more so, we're delighted to have you joining us. You're watching at 2 very formidable jumps where our competitors need to get a nice straight line, hugging the bank, just like that. Nice, neat and tidy from Sean Kelly. Jack Corlett alongside local crew who know these roads very well in that Mitsubishi Evo 9. Hey, we're delighted to have you with us, whatever you're doing today. Claire Warburton and Stephen Harvey and Andy Falcon have gone past. No, although I did see them on Phil Bramwell's stream of the first couple of stages. Haven't looked at the results in the last few minutes, so can't give you an update on that. Scott Morris is watching in sunny Shropshire, home of the Woodpecker Rally, of course, based around Ludlow. We'll be back there very soon. My chief focus in 2023 is the BTRDA Gravel Championship, but I'm delighted to be joining the team for selected rounds of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Championship. Will Rowlands, Emir Hall, who just scraped a top 20 in 19th at the opening round. Look like they've got a bit of modification. They look like they had tyre marks, like a touring car down the side, down the left-hand side of that Escort. I'm not sure what's gone on there. Chris Stewart cheering on Gex Williams and Danny Matthews. Jason Taylor's having a half day Friday as well at Swift Caravans. Get in, Manx Rally time. Indeed. Swift Caravans, very much the home of rallying in many ways in East Yorkshire. And by Pete Smith, who I believe is still on the board. And of course, somewhere involved at board level is Guy Smith, East Yorkshire's Le Mans winner. Joined us at the East Riding stages and didn't rule out a return to the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. You see Rob Smith and Alan Cook, who took a DNF on the recent Chris Kelly Memorial Rally here in their H3 historic Escort RS 1800. And didn't join us for the opening round, so they need some points on the board here. When I mentioned the Chris Kelly, by the way, it's by way of comparison. It's not a round of the championship, but it's a useful barometer. It wasn't long ago, and it just gives us a feel for those who've done the rally as to who's quick and who perhaps has had recent battle experience here on these iconic and yet challenging and formidable lanes. I do love that sight of the cars just coming into view around the side of that hillside, and I know from looking at some of your comments you're enjoying that just as much as I am. Willanians, Dave Williams through. There'll be a battle between those two Escorts that you just saw through there. Again, not scoring any points, not joining us at the first round, so their championship starts here in earnest. Oh, we're doing this, are we? We're claiming to be from the home of rallies. Okay, so Sean Thomas is watching from home of the track rod, Rally Yorkshire in Filey. Good to have you with us. George Lang sat in a truck in Liverpool enjoying the coverage. I hope that truck is stationary and you are hands-free and safe to watch special stage. Got to say that. Cathal Coyle simply says, Ben Williams. I agree. Andrew Bailey says it's cold and rainy in Northamptonshire. He's got a Mark II Escort in the garage, which should help his mood, however, because it is a really glorious looking Mark II Escort, well sorted, but it's for sale, so yeah, it's not going to make you feel very good, is it? So if you do fancy a very well sorted Mark II Escort, look Andrew Bayliss up on social media. He will happily / reluctantly sell you his as Richard Hall and Declan Campbell demonstrate just what a Mark II Escort can do here on the lanes at the Isle of Man. That'll make you feel even worse, Andrew. Nikki Schmeichel Jones. Her cousin, I'm presuming, is Will Rowlands, who went through just recently. The young rally star that you have seen in our coverage recently. Although he's knocking on a bit now, isn't he? Ash Slights, good to have you with us, Ash. Mike Kennett says it's a beautiful day here in Wales watching the coverage. Well, it's a beautiful day here on the Isle of Man. We wish you were with us, but as you can't be with us, this is the very next best thing, isn't it? It's like having the best seat in the house, watching a pretty iconic section of stage. This is the 4th stage of the day in Ingebrigtsen, and it comes down from Sartfield hairpin along these jumps towards Brandywell Cottage, and our crews are slotting right at the junction of the hill. With the cottage, if they have time to glance out of their left-hand side windows, just in view as they go up the hill there and out of shot. Brandywell Cottage will very much feature in tomorrow's stage. Baldwin's, the Baldwin stage. Polish Steve is watching with us. Hey up, Ash. Good to have you with us. Alan Thomas. You guys are just getting a conversation going in the chat there. Feel free. Don't forget, you can win a model of, where's the model? Producer Wayne, quick, you've got to be quicker with this. My glamorous assistant hands me the model that you could win this weekend. All you've got to do to win this fantastic model by rally-models.co.uk. Sam Collis, another look at my sunglasses. There you go, pal. That is Jason Pritchard's Manx Rally winning a car that you'll recognise from the Pro Time Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, and it could be yours. We will be sending that out to somebody after this weekend's rally. You've got to predict the top 3 correctly on any of today's live streams. You can guess more than once, so if the top 3 you predicted early on looks like changing by the end of today, you've got right until the last stage of the day to get your final guesses in. Any correct guesses will go into a draw to win that model of Jason Pritchard's Escort. As you see Jeff Roberts and Ian Jones flying past us, and just getting the Escort dancing around going up the hill there. Didn't join us at the opening round in East Yorkshire, so again their championship campaign in the historic class kicks off right here on the Isle of Man. Manx rallying back at its best. 17 stages over 2 days, 3 legs. The first of those legs concludes this morning with this stage that you're watching now. Ingebrigtsen kicks off again. Is it around 6 o'clock this evening, I think, for the second leg, and then a full day, 84 stage miles tomorrow. It's a monster, as is that Class C Mark II Escort of John Devlin and John McCarthy. Sounds fierce, doesn't it? That Mark II, you hear it on the overrun as they let off the throttle, and it's screaming, mash that throttle back into the floor, please. Although it doesn't sound very polite, so probably less of the please from that Mark II Escort. What are you talking about, Woodford? Good to have you with us. Graham Marshall is enjoying the coverage from just over the water in South Africa. I was going to say South Africa. It's not just over the water. South Ayrshire. Okay, we'll let you off. That is just over the water. I said this morning that it is great to be by the seaside, and it really is, particularly when that seaside is the Irish Sea, with an outlook from Douglas Promenade, where I was this morning, walking from the lighthouse, the old lighthouse that we're staying. I said the old lighthouse, it is old, but it's still working. I'll tell you that because the garden lights up through the night. Staying there with Paul Morris and the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Championship management team. Mark Lennox, Ian Beaumont through this 4th stage of the day. Excuse the shuffling of paper. I got attacked by a blast of wind. We haven't had much of that here. In fact, walking past the cottage, Brandywell Cottage, just on the way from the special stage van before this stage started, it was ever so windy, and we stood by these trees, and would you guess? Trees are a very good way of shielding wind. 21.5 miles this first leg of the day then. A bit more of a fight with the wind. Dave Willett and John Davies were flying there, weren't they? Not registered for championship points. Perhaps they'll come out of this rally if they keep the pedal to the metal like that and rue their decision not to register for championship points. And that's the point, isn't it? for what it costs you to enter the championship and carry that Pro Tyre branding on your car, which, by the way, looks very smart, I've got to say. You may as well register yourself for points. That's the way I see it, because you're all working hard, you're spending your money to get over here to these rallies, and well, we want to cover your story, your championship campaign, don't we? Stephen Rampling's watching from Weatherby. Pedro Silva Diniz wins though, he's watching from Portugal. Andrew Pollard joining us as well. Thank you for tuning in today. It's Friday afternoon, hopefully you're on a half-day finish, or you're at least looking out the window with some cool plans for this evening. By the way, your cool plans should definitely include tuning into special stage, because we'll be live right through this Manx rally. A man who's enjoying, I say, well, tentatively, because I haven't spoken to him yet since he started, his first time here on the Isle of Man. Mike English, Andy Robinson alongside in that Fiesta Rally 2. And I tell you what, that is a cracking looking car, and he's getting more and more used to it. But it's a really unique challenge. The lanes here on the Isle of Man, they are glorious, and it looks like a lot of fun. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of off-line bumps. There's a lot of camber and a lot of change on the stage surface itself, that just every stage carries its own set of stories and its own set of legends that have been collected along the way into the scenery here on the Isle of Man. And if it's your first time here, that is quite a daunting challenge. And you know, we talked earlier about getting the right line across this succession of jumps here, and well, you just saw a little glimpse there of what happens if you get that line wrong, because if you're not quite straight for the second jump, if you don't quite hug the bank on the first one, then you're going to do what Robert Turton did there, and just get it a little bit out of shape as you go over the second jump, because you're having to steer the car. You want to get the car set up before that first jump, so you go, basically you can just mash the throttle and just keep the car straight through that second jump and concentrate on the landing. There are a few gaps between some of these cars. Do, if you get chance, hello to Michael Russ, by the way, do, if you get chance, head to rallies.info and have a look at, you'll be juggling less things than me, have a look at how the results are shaping up. At the moment then, to remind you, let's just take a look at the top of this leaderboard. Should be at the end of MCC. Where should we be now? David Wright, Paula Swinsko in the lead. What a great sight that is. Grum Wilcock, Donna Harper alongside in that Opel Manta. What a great looking and sounding car, and quite an iconic sight, an Opel Manta on the Isle of Man. So yeah, David Wright, Paula Swinsko lead the Manx Rally after the first leg, the first 4 stages, 21 and a half of those 130 or so miles of the total competitive distance, by 13.6 seconds. Behind them, it's a very hard charging and a very committed Callum Black, with Jack Morton alongside. Callum's first time on these lanes in 4-wheel drive and throwing himself into the challenge. Kevin Davies, Owen Davies in 3rd place, just 0.2 of a second back. This is very close out there. Adrian Spencer, Ashley Trimble, just perhaps not quite fully committed in that Subaru Impreza. Perhaps I'm being a little unfair, because it does have a deeper, throatier thrum to the exhaust note, and perhaps it's a little deceiving, but it just didn't seem like he was. Would you agree, Luke Leonard? Cameraman just sort of nods slowly. He's not committing entirely, but yeah, perhaps a little less committed through here than A, we'd expect, and B, some of the cars that we've seen through so far. David Wright, Paula Swinsko first. Callum Black, Jack Morton, 2nd place. This is the overall leaderboard to date. Kevin Davies, Owen Davies in 3rd place. Hugh Hunter, Rob Fagg are only 8 seconds back in 4th. Then Neil Roskell, Andrew Roughhead coming in after finishing runner-up in the championship last season in 5th place. David Jones, Neil Spires through. Just dropped everything and had a minor disaster here by the side of the stage, but we're okay. We're still here. We're still fighting. Steve Wood, though, at the moment down in 7th place in that Fiesta WRC, to remind you, comes here as the reigning Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally champion. Had a crash at the opening round. The East Riding stages needs some good points on the board here this weekend. I would argue that while 7th does actually yield some points, in Steve's eyes, they won't be particularly good ones. Landing on the bank on the inside of the first part of that jump. Tim Cole, David Sutcliffe in that E30 325 BMW. Wow, that was commitment for you. When I said you got to hug the bank, I didn't mean you got to hug it from the air. But you know what? Makes it nice and entertaining for us. That was very committed, wasn't it? John Stone, Laura Connell, 10 seconds back from our reigning champs. A reminder to get your predictions in for our rally overall top 3 at the end of both days of competition. The overall rally top 3. You've got the whole of today to get your votes in, and then the winning guesses are going to a draw to win more than Jason Pritchard's Manx Rally winning Focus World Rally car. Another lovely bit of air over those jumps from Chris Hees, with Rick Sutcliffe alongside another local crew in their Class D BMW, in a bit of a battle with Tim Cole, David Sutcliffe, who you just saw through in their similar car. William Hill, Richard Crozier, doing well so far. 3rd in class, but 14th on the overall leaderboard in that Rally 3 Hills Ford Fiesta. Interesting looking, sounding, and very quick rally car. Getting quicker every time William climbs into it. This is a very different challenge from those that he's enjoying so far in the car, though. Alan Walker, Dan Petrie alongside. Oh, just skipping the rear end of that RS 1800 historic spec Escort over the cattle grid as the marshals just popped down to, are they rearranging some furniture? Oh, no, they're just crossing the road. I thought perhaps somebody had clattered the side of that cattle grid on the way up. No such behaviour so far. So this is the 4th stage of the day then. We're going to be live for the 5th stage, Kerristal as well, which will be at around 6:45 this evening. If you tune in from around 6:30, you can watch here on Facebook, and we're trialling the YouTube live stream as well, so you can watch there if you want to put it on a big screen. Well, why not? Get the beers in and have a night in watching rallying with Special Stage. Balladoor will be live for 6 and 7 as well. 2 passes through that short blast. And then the last live stage this evening at about 20 to 9 will be Little London. As you see, John Morgan and Linus Jones-Edwards over from Breckham. And then Mark II Escort through this 4th stage of the day. Then tomorrow, that 84-mile grueling challenge for our crews. Ends up being a fairly grueling challenge for the TV crew as well. Stage 10, Newtown, will be live to open your morning of rally TV viewing at around 9:40, around 20 to 10 in the morning. 10:30, the Curras, stage 11. 11:30, the Baldwins, the stage I mentioned. Stage that includes a lot of those iconic places. The stage that when run as the longest stage ever in the Manx was Colin McRae's favourite stage. He took the record there, and we'll be live for that stage. Tomorrow, Sam Adams, Michael Johnston through in their Class C Escort. They were 26th at the opening round on the overall leaderboard in East Yorkshire, 3rd in Class C. A strong start to the season for them. Some more points on the board here from a top position would be most useful and very welcome, I'm sure. Then we have a short break for lunch tomorrow. Not much of a break through any of the stages. Actually, 1:30 we'll be back live with the Coureurs. That's stage 15. And then as our crews, the remaining crews that have made it that far through this marathon 17 stage, 250 odd mile adventure across the Isle of Man, make it back to the TT Grandstand for the ceremonial finish. We'll be live with some reaction and some of the atmosphere for you to sample just before 3 o'clock tomorrow. That's the third leg of the rally, 84 miles. Oh, very sideways. And not perhaps lining that Mark Escort that's just gone up the bank as the car just went out of view there, so you just saw that on the screen. Luckily, managed to scrub off the speed, and although he has gone up the bank, I don't know if you can hear, but we can hear that the car did get going straight away. So a bit of an off, bit of a moment. But they're back on the road. And I was just saying before they went off up there that that wasn't the best line coming through this couple of jumps. And you just saw that Mark Escort just skittle out of line ever so slightly, just skipping the rear end out around a bit as a result of not getting that line quite right. Maximum revs over the jumps here, and again just having to steer the car in between the jumps, which is fine. That's one way of doing it. Oliver Davies, Jack Bowen alongside. This is Jack's first time on the Isle of Man. I would have had Jack Bowen down as I haven't done the Manx rally before, but no, first time here. Oliver Davies, 34th on the overall leaderboard at the opening round in that Mark II Escort, and just taking a slightly more cautious, but as a result, slower line through this series of jumps down towards Brandywell Cottage. A bumper entry on this year's Manx rally, 140 cars literally bursting at the seams. Michael Harbour, Ian McDougall, very committed through here. Second in Class C at the opening round, 23rd on the overall leaderboard. Reasonably, they could be eyeing a top 20 here on the Isle of Man. And they're pushing, as you can see. Hello to Nick Kitchen. Dave Whittle. Let us know what you're doing today, where you're watching from. It's a bit late to ask Tim Kieran Rogers what he's having for his breakfast, isn't it? But we can maybe do that tomorrow's opening stage of the day. If you are just tuning in, this is live coverage on special stage of rounds 2 and 3 of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. Is the 2023 Manx Rally. As you see, the dust kicked up from an interesting tight line over those two jumps. Very committed and brave from Oliver Hunter, with Matt Daniels alongside in that Escort that took them to 6th in Class C at the opening round. They did do the Chris Kelly Memorial Rally here recently on the Isle of Man, and they were a DNF, so quite brave over that pair of jumps. We mentioned it at the start of this stream, but you've seen it done right, we've seen it done wrong. But luckily everyone getting away with it so far, but taking a chunk out of the inside bit of the bank on that first jump is a very brave and committed way of tackling this double jump down towards Brandywell Cottage. We're looking for cars taking a nice tight line towards that bank, not necessarily taking a mouthful out of it, as we've seen a few do, including Oliver there, but just a nice tight line through that first jump, which sets you up nicely. You can just basically hang onto the steering wheel, pin the accelerator, and just enjoy jump number 2, because the car's nicely set up. There's no steering, braking, or very little anything else to do. You just basically hang on for dear life and throw it in after that. Christopher David, Berry and Lewis Griffiths through there, but it's quite counterintuitive when you're coming over a jump to take what looks like a bit of a blind leap of faith through the first one. If you're listening to your co-driver and you've got a good relationship in that car, it's obviously less blind. Those of you who have been inside a rally car will understand that. It's quite a difficult concept to grasp if you haven't, but take it from me. If you listen to your co-driver and you trust them and they tell you, as you did in the recce, just to keep it tight to that inside, then it's plain sailing from there on in. But we've seen some big moments over the years here. Steve Perez putting the, will it have been the Focus? Off the stage in quite a big way, just along from where we're filming from. Oh! Mark Holmes, Mark Perryman just skittering their way through that series of jumps there in the Mark I Escort. It's a great looking car, that, very well prepared. It was really good to have a look around the service area yesterday ahead of the recce. That normally, or don't always get the chance to get out into the service area, but the standard of preparation and the professionalism on display in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship is something else. And really did enjoy having a wander around yesterday and enjoyed looking at that Mark I Escort. Stevenson, Wheeler, John Pickavans through in their H3 Escort RS 1800, quite a hotly contested class on this year's Manx Rally. H3, a lot of historic cars entered, and the Escort's going well today. It's very much Escort weather. It's a shame that we haven't got any Darians out, because it's very much Darien weather here. Oh, Jason Pritchard's just had an off in the rally-models.co.uk model that we're giving away this weekend at the Manx Rally. Fell off the satellite box into the undergrowth, but I'm pleased to say that that Focus WRC is back on top of the camera box and will be given away. As part of that competition this weekend, you need to guess your top 3 finishers on the Manx Rally. If you do that correctly, you'll go into a draw, and the randomly selected winner will be sent that really cool model of the Manx Rally winning Jason Pritchard Ford Focus WRC from rally-models.co.uk. All you've got to do is guess, and you've got to do it today on any of the streams today, so it can be right up to the last stream of the day on Little London, which will be at about 25 to 9 this evening, back with myself after Phil Bramwell has done Balladul before that at 7:15. You've got right up until then to get your guess in. You can get a guess on the board, you know, get a run on the board now with your best guess, and then if things change, if the leaderboard changes significantly, if you lose one of your main guesses before then, not wishing ill of anyone, let's not give anyone competition's curse here on Special Stage, but you can guess again later today. Get as many guesses as you like. You're going to a draw, if you're correct, to win that model of Jason Pritchard's Manx winning Focus WRC. John Williams, Thomas Shakespeare in that Class C 205 GTI. The Zero cars are 205 GTI, and got nicely switchy over those 2 jumps. As did that one of James Nichols and David Allman, of course. 205 is that beam rear axle, just kicking again, just kicking the back end up like a little donkey over the cattle grid. Squeal of tyres locking up under brakes at the top and then going out of view to the right. Yeah, the 205 is famous for kicking the back end up, and if you get it wrong, you come bouncing over those jumps and the car's pointing in the wrong direction. Best of luck to you. Luckily, didn't see any of that just then. Stephen Kimber saying that the jumps are more fun going the other way. Oh, that may be, but they look fun enough going this way to me, and it's fast as well going this way because they're heading downhill effectively after that second jump. I suppose you would argue it's probably more downhill as producer Wayne just looks around to check my theory going the opposite way, so perhaps you're right. Hello to Paul Davies and Cathal Coyle who joined us. Graham Jordan has joined us from Brisbane in Australia. It's 11:30 p.m. there. Well, you'll be fast asleep when we get to the leg 2 this evening, so maybe set your alarm and join us in the middle of the night. we'll have a slumber party. Was Mark Constantine on the horn there as he went past? I think there might have been a little blip of the horn in that course that looked absolutely cracking with its bank of spotlights bolted on, ready for scrutineering last night. I'm looking forward to that last stage of the day at Little London today, because I've got a feeling this evening we're going to see some spotlights on. And there's something about spotlights. Even the newest Rally 2 Fiestas have started. I mean, take nothing away from the laser lamp style of lamps. They are very, very effective, and they do the job splendidly. And if they were bolted to my bonnet, perhaps I'd want them on instead. But I'd just love to see spotlights. So I'm delighted to see, although they are the cost of a fairly reasonable family hatchback these days, but the spot lamp pods that have got auto levelling and clever motors in them to keep the lights level as you're going over jumps and round corners on the current Rally 2 Fiestas do look like spot lamp pods again. And that is fine by me. Mark Constantine, Andrew Constantine in the Corsa then, second in Class A at the opening round. They'll be looking for a strong result, and they're a strong tip in that class. And for a decent result overall as well, as you see Lewis Gatt and Tony Edwards through in their Class B Mark II Escort. 7th place on the recent Chris Kelly Memorial Rally is a bit of a warm-up and perhaps a bit of a barometer of how we might see their performance shaping up on this weekend's Manx Rally. The car coming up next on the entry list should not be the car we'll see. I've got a feeling that we're going to see, as we see Clive Sisson watching from a wet Spain. It seems like we've borrowed the weather here on the Isle of Man from your Spanish holiday then, Clive. Ever so sorry about that. / not sorry at all, because it's glorious here and we think we might get a bit of sunburn. Nice to get some vitamin C on your face. Yeah, oh, I tell you what. Just scared himself a little bit there. I was just saying, car 88 slotted into the entry at this point is Paul Doroschuk with Tony Edwards alongside. No, it's not. It's Paul Doroschuk. Tony Edwards was in with Lewis Gatt, wasn't he? Just scared himself a little bit coming over. Had a really big crash in that car not so long ago. Julian Doroschuk, of course. What am I talking about? Recently celebrated his 70th birthday, did Paul. Congratulations to him on that. And he's done every single championship in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Series since 2012, except for 2017, when brother Julian was injured. I don't think it was a motorsport-related injury. They were our 2018 B11 champions as well. And they won, although you can't see it on your screens necessarily from that distance, but they won the best presented car. And let me tell you, you could eat your dinner, as Donna from the championship team told me with glee yesterday, off every single bit of that car. The boot, the engine bay, the underneath, the wheel arches, the whole thing is absolutely immaculate. So congratulations to Paul Doroschuk, who did worry himself a little bit with that line over the jumps and just backed it off a bit. Didn't want to put that car into a tree. Did go 6 foot high into a tree. Was that in Ireland? I'm trying to remember when that was. It was the AMC stages. Did watch the in-car video yesterday. It was a scary accident, but a credit to how that car's built. It's still got the holes in the inner door shuts as well from when the shell was Z-barted from new. It's that good, that shell, that it's basically the original shell. There's nothing bolted on apart from when he had that accident. So Paul Doroschuk, and you saw just then as well Pat Johnson and Kevin Barden through in their Opel Kadett GTE 3-car team with 3 very different Opels, varying degrees of gloriousness in the service area. In fact, it was a great service area. It was rammed full of variety and happy, smiley faces, and they're always a bit happier and smilier when the blue sky is out and the sun is shining. There's a man who looks like he's enjoying himself out there. 5th place in Class C at the opening round, looking to get some more points on the board towards that Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship campaign here at rounds 2 and 3. Plenty of points to go at here then. 2 rounds on the Isle of Man. Ismail Boyd and Brian Stubbs alongside. Malcolm Proudlock watching along with us. Hello to you, mate. Daniel Keith Mennell as well, watching from a very warm Tenerife. Oof, oh, it's a toss-up now. Would I rather be on the Isle of Man presenting live rallying or in Tenerife? Can I like them both just as much? Actually, I wouldn't want to give up where I'm stood right now for anything. As you see, Bridge Carey and Bradley Ware. A bit leery in that Clio. Nice tight diff by the looks of things. Just fighting with the car a little bit through that right-hander up the hill. Loading the front left tyre and having to nip it in and keep a nice tight line. Of course, it'll be in your notes. Caution tightens through cattle grid, or through gate post, whatever you've written on your notes. But yeah, you don't want your diff pulling you all over the road if you're already pulling your momentum up that hill, do you? I say that, I'm overthinking it because no one's really had any struggles, have they? So far today on that part. And again, that's what happens. Graham Muter demonstrating nicely. If you don't quite get the line right, with Steve Hallmark alongside in their H2 Escort RS 2000. If you don't quite get the line right over the first of the jumps, when you go over the second of the jumps, well, that Escort is just going to get itself in check and not necessarily in the same direction you want it to be pointing when you land off the second of the jumps. You need your momentum, you need to get it straight, you need to be hugging that inside bank on the first of the jumps so you can keep a nice straight line, and we've seen some really interesting cuts being taken on that first jump. Maximum commitment here on the first leg of the 2023 Manx Rally. Take a quick look and a recap at the overall leaderboards as things stand. David Wright, Paula Swinsko. I said to David, would I be right in guessing that there's quiet confidence inside this car? And he said, yeah, that's a fair way to put it. I am quietly confident. Well, that quiet confidence has got him settling into a nice rhythm. He's 13.6 seconds ahead of Callum Black and Jack Morton, who were very confident, brimming with enthusiasm on Callum's first asphalt adventure in four-wheel drive. And they're in second place, as you see, Simon Hunter. And Howard Pridmore. Maximum revs going up the hill there. God, sounds really strong. So flip back to the leaderboard. Callum Black, Jack Morton then 13.6 back from the lead at this stage. 21.5 miles out of the monster 137 miles of the competitive mileage on this year's Manx Rally now done. Back to service, back to the grandstand in Douglas for a little bit of a break before leg 2 starts this evening. Just before, is it just before 6 o'clock? To remind myself of the TV times. No, just before 7 o'clock. So stage 5 kicking off at 6:45, and we'll be live with you from Kerristal. Is that myself or Phil Bramwell, producer Wayne? Phil Bramwell will be live with you from Kerristal for the next of today's stages after the break between the first couple of legs. John McCulloch, Rachel McCulloch alongside. Didn't join us for the opening round in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, but here they are getting their campaign underway at rounds 2 and 3. A double header with plenty of points up for grabs, plenty of traction to be made and had in those championship campaigns here. David Wright, Paula Swinsko then. Let's get this leaderboard done. Callum Black, Jack Morton second. Kevin Davies, Owen Davies in third place. 0.2 of a second back from the Rally 2 Fiesta. Up ahead then it's Hugh Hunter and Rob Fagg in fourth place. Another 8 seconds back. Neil Roskell, Andrew Ruffhead behind them, as you see Stephen Harvey and Andrew Faulkner through. First time here, their third ever closed road event. Their second ever was the East Riding Stages back at the start of this championship in February. Seems an awful long time ago, where they took a top 30 position overall in that Class E in Pretzer. So our runners-up in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, Neil Roskell, Andrew Ruffhead, who won last time out, the first win they've taken in that Rally 2 Fiesta at the non-championship round. Important to point that out, of Clacton. Clearly they enjoy their seaside jaunts. Let's see if this seaside is as kind to them as the one that they recently visited in Essex. They're in 5th place on the leaderboard. Gareth Mimner now on the, he's not registered, but the overall leaderboard in 6th. Steve Wood, our defending champion, struggling a little with pace in that Fiesta World Rally car with Kenny Hull alongside in 7th. Then it's John Stone, Laura Connell 8th, Martin Toner 9th, and a struggling Melvin Evans in 10th. Martin Freeston, James Freeston in their historic spec RS 1600, heeling and towing it up the hill, blipping it down through the gears, that Escort BDA singing and rasping as the back end just darts around over the bumpy uphill section with Brandywell Cottage on the left underneath you as you head up the hill there. Tomorrow's Baldwin's stage will feature Brandywell Cottage in the familiar direction. Looking forward to that. John Adams and William Kidd, a few non-registered championship crews, either over from the mainland, over from Ireland, as these two are, or local competitors here from the Isle of Man, just at this point in the entry. Good time to remind you, where's the model, producer Wayne, that let's have a look at this model again. This is very cool, isn't it? I mean, I'm nerding out over this, but this is the model of Jason Pritchard's Manx Rally winning Focus World Rally car from the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, and it's been excellently built and then branded by rally-models.co.uk, and you could win it. All you've got to do is guess your overall top 3 on this weekend's Manx Rally. If you do that on any of today's live streams, you've got until the end of today, including that final stage of the day, so leave it as long as you like to get those guesses in, or have a couple of guesses throughout the day. If you fancy doing it that way, you could be winning that. We'll put the winning guesses in a draw to win that model of that Ford Focus. You may have seen the competition we ran for the Ian Joel Escort Cosworth on the Border Counties Rally, the last round of the BTRDA. That went down very well, so we thought we'd better do a Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Rally, Asphalt Rally Championship themed prize for this weekend. So there you go. Jason Pritchard's Manx Rally winning Focus WRC could be yours, or a scale model of a bit of Manx Rally treasure to add to your mantelpiece or your model collection this weekend if you guess the top 3 correctly. We'll have a look through some of those answers in a short while. If you want to have a look through the class and overall results and watch them come through live as we go through this 4th stage, the final stage in this leg, you can do that by going to rallies.info. Philip Taylor says, always enjoyed competing on the Manx, a great rally, really misses doing it. Glenn Ducks, go on Smiley, keep her lit. Mention that 3-car Opel team, and there's the second of them, Tommy Gray and Mark Pickering. From Moulton in that Cadet GTE. Great looking car, isn't it? Just hear that. Straight cut gearbox whining, and the tone of the gearbox undulating with the road surface as the Cadet winds its way up the hill here, heading towards the bright, cloudless blue sky on the horizon. There are a few clouds in the sky, but not many, and they're not going to worry us too much today on the Isle of Man. It's positively tropical here on the other side of the Irish Sea. As you see Phil Jones and Ryan Griffith through in their Class C Escort. Interestingly then, Newtown, which we'll see on tomorrow's leg, was previously known as Millerisk. It holds the record for the longest ever stage, 21.46 miles that ran here on the Isle of Man. Tapio Laukkanen holding the record in a Renault Megane Maxi. He won the BRC in that car in 1999, you may remember. Just to remember the F2 days over here on these lanes. There's one for you. I was asking, wasn't I, on the BTRDA coverage recently. Where have all the C2R2s gone? They're all here on the Manx Rally. I took a picture yesterday in service of Max Murray's car. And Carl Casement's car as well in the service area. That's Max Murray with Matty Owen alongside local crew in their C2R2. Otherwise known as a box of spare parts for Lucy Wigley's C2R2. If you watched our coverage last weekend, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, you'll be wondering what I'm talking about, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. If you're just tuning in, this is rounds 2 and 3 of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. We're live on special stage, and we're going to be live right through this 2023 Manx Rally. To remind you, this is the last stage in this loop, 21.5 miles down of the overall 137 competitive miles, 17 stages in total. We'll have done 4 of them as our crews come through this 4th stage of the day. Ingebrek heading towards Brandywell Cottage, but slotting right before you reach the cottage. There's Ben Smith, Stephen Smith. Get all airborne in that Mark 1 Escort. And I tell you what, getting airborne in the Mark 1 Escort is there's no strangers to that is Stephen Smith in the co-driver's seat of that car. Former British historic rally champion, wasn't he, in a Porsche? A very fast man in that Amigos Mark 1 Escort in the co-driver's seat, and Ben Smith hoping he can live up to that as well in that H2 spec Mark 1 Escort RS 2000. So we're going to be live with you again then for the first stage in the next loop, the next leg that starts this evening at 7:15. That's Kerristal. We're going to be bringing you a mixture of stage end interviews actually, as well as the action in the stage, and depending on how the schedule goes, the plan at the moment is to get to the end of that 5th stage of the day and get you a bit of reaction from our crews before Phil Bramwell then brings you live action from Balladoor, which is stages 6 and 7. Again, like this morning's first couple of stages of the day, will be run straight after one another, and you'll get 2 passes of the stage through that live stream. That'll be about 7:15 this evening. If you click the link at the bottom of the screen, you can be notified every time a special stage goes live. You won't miss a thing. But we have put a nice, handy guide to our live coverage on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram pages to give you an idea of when you can tune in for live rally action from the Manx Rally across this couple of days. 20:37 to be exact. Let's call it 25 to 9 this evening. The final stage of this first day of action from the second leg gets underway. That's Little London. And I'll be live with you in that stage, with stage action from just like this 4th stage of the day, all of the cars on the entry. And Little London is where the cars are starting this 4th stage of the day. This Ingebrek stage, they're then heading around the Sartfield hairpin. You'll remember that's a famous hairpin. Cars going around the hairpin with all manner of 1 wheels, 2 wheels, noses pointing in the air, down through the formidable jumps that you see in front of you on the camera towards the famous Brandywell Cottage. Then the cars filter right up the hill. There's no hairpin past the cottage on day 1. We'll be back for that bit on tomorrow's Baldwin stage, and that'll be a cracking stage from the bottom end of Druridale down towards the reservoir at West Baldwin and up towards that famous Brandywell Cottage that, as the camera pans round, I don't think you can see Brandywell, can you, because of the tree line, but just behind those trees on the left hand side of your screen now is the famous Brandywell Cottage. Think of the names that have been around that cottage, the names and the teams and the cars that have competed here on these very lanes. It's quite spine-tingling, really. First Manx Rally in 1963. 3 most successful drivers are Mark Higgins on top of that distinguished leaderboard with 5 wins. His home event, knows these stages like at the back of his hand. You only have to watch that video on YouTube of him in the Civic talking us through the stage, getting slightly out of breath at certain points and going sideways at others on the bumps as the car gets all out of line. 5 wins to his name, Tony Pond. Pond and that famous moustache, taking 4 wins here. There's some great pictures of Tony Pond at the start of this rally in Douglas on the internet. And Russell Brooks took 4 wins as well. Iconic names that are not lost on this pair. I was talking to Rob Fisher and Carrie Bates yesterday about some of the names here. This will be their 4th Manx. They've done it in a Clio and an Evo 6 as well. And they're just trying out that Citroen DS3 R3, which, believe it or not, is actually James Grint's old car. Now, here's a bit of... You'll remember that car, perhaps, from our coverage here on Special Stage, probably around 9 or 10 years ago now. Last time, maybe a bit more, 10 or 11 years since James Grint last featured on a Special Stage programme. He's just had a little one, actually, so congratulations to James, now a family man. But here's a really strange thing for you. They didn't realise this. When Rob bought that DS3 for he and Carrie Bates to compete in, James Grint is actually Carrie's brother-in-law, got to get this right, which is quite a strange coincidence, particularly as they didn't even realise it was James Grint's old car until they saw the old British Rally Championship scrutineering stickers on the roll cage. Interesting, huh? And Carrie won't mind me telling you that, but she will be a little embarrassed that I have to tell you that she's actually sat on a booster cushion. She's a little bit small for that DS3, so she's just boosted her height a little bit with a booster cushion inside that car. This is the problem, you see. If you do find me approaching you in the service area after the recce, the day before the rally starts, and you will tell me these things, then, you know, when we've got a little bit of a gap in between cars on the live coverage of the rally, I'm going to tell the world. And the world, I like to think, is watching with us. We're certainly being joined by many of you here on the live coverage of the Manx Rally rounds 2 and 3 of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. Good to have you all with us. We hope you're enjoying your day wherever you are and that you're enjoying this live coverage with us as well. If you're tuning in thinking, this can't be the Manx Rally, bright blue sky and tropical climate, well, yeah, we're pretty bowled over by it as well. Indicator on, perhaps a signal of intent, perhaps just the signal that Jonathan Stepney and Aled Davies are about to pull over. Let's hope not. They had a big crash on the East Riding Stages rally, so obviously a DNF to start the season. And their sponsors, and this is good actually, you know, we like sponsors, very good to have new sponsors, particularly ones that will buy you a new car. So there they are in this Clio now, and they're switching from B12 to B11 in that new car, bought for them by their sponsors. That's great. Local crew, David Crane, Janet Crane alongside, and we all know how I feel about Escort Cosworth, particularly Escort Cosworth being driven well like that one on iconic bits of stage like this one. Great to see a number of local crews out having a bit of a family adventure this weekend. It's not just the local crews having a family adventure though. Callum Black's little daughter is 1 year old this weekend, and the family across to celebrate that. Grandad in the service area last night pointing out how much the bag that he'd bought to store his M Sport lamp pod had come in. It's a typical dad comment, that, isn't it? Typical granddad comment. But it is great to see so many families out here making a bit of a holiday of the Manx Rally. David and Janet Crane, just one of those, and do like to see that Escort Cosworth out on these Manx Rally stages. I can't remember a Manx Rally that we did, even though it's been around 10 years since I last came here. I can't remember a Manx Rally that didn't feature that car. Although Janet Crane was in a Mitsubishi Evo 3, I think, the last time I came to the Isle of Man. Producer Wayne is nodding. Who was she in with? George Collister, of course. Stretching our knowledge there back 10 years. Sean Matthews, Ewan Evans there over in there. Mark 3 Astra. And that's a really disappointing sight to see, although it could be worse. Stephen Brown, Arwell Jenkins of Questmead in that Micra kit car. are clearly struggling. Hazard warning lights on, coasting through this fourth stage of the day. Plenty of time to sort out whatever the problem is ahead of the second leg. Disappointing for them, but with mileage like this year's Manx Rally, plenty of time to get it fixed and get back out and enjoy these stages. Albeit, it will be nice to see them fighting on the leaderboard rather than coasting through the stage with hazard warning lights on. Tony Shields, Barry Ford through them there. H2 historic escort. Barry putting pictures on Twitter and enjoying his Manx Rally experience so far. Another local crew in that escort. Keegan Rees watching alongside Shannon Turnbull, two of our star co-drivers here on Special Stage. If you are just tuning in and you're ruining your decision not to tune in earlier, missing therefore Phil Bramwell's coverage of the first couple of stages, then don't worry, you can watch it back on our Special Stage or the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship pages. Scroll down the page, you can also have a look at the first stream this morning, which just gave you a glimpse at some of the reactions from the crews as they headed out into the first of the day stages. Oh, remarkably relaxed and looking forward to the challenge, I've got to say. William Nelson, Craig Nelson taking a very strange line through that pair of jumps, but not necessarily going fast enough for it to worry them by the time you get to jump number 2. As we said before, you're looking for, if you want to go fast over those jumps and minimise your risk of having a do at the other side when you land, you want to be getting it tight into that first bank on the left of your screen so that you can keep it straight and the throttle pinned into the second jump. It's interesting that so many of you are joining us to watch rallying on a Friday afternoon. Perhaps it wasn't just us getting the afternoon off work then to get over here to the Isle of Man. You guys are able to join us remotely. If you're watching it in the office, keep the sound down, won't you? Don't get yourselves in trouble for us. We obviously fully advocate you watching live coverage of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever you're watching it. But yeah, don't get yourselves in trouble on our account. But do, while you're watching it, get your predictions in for the top 3. Because as we've mentioned a few times, you could win that really, really cool model of Jason Pritchard's Manx Rally winning and indeed Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship car, that Focus WRC, thanks to rally-models.co.uk. One of you will be winning that if you guess correctly the top 3 and go into the draw that will run after tomorrow when the rally concludes. But you've got to get your guesses in on today's live streams, any of them. So we're giving you plenty of time to get your guesses in, and you'll have a good feel for things by the time we get through to the end of the day tonight. Berwyn Evans, Ivan Devine in that Class D escort, sounding really rorty. A bit steady, just taking a cautious approach on this 4th stage of the day. It's a daunting set of lanes making up this 4th stage of the day. Ingebrek, as the crews reach the flying finish, and we're about halfway through, probably just under halfway through this stage where we're watching from, where we're bringing this live coverage from. As we get to the end of this, it's 21.5 miles complete of the Manx Rally. Philip Hamilton and Joe Comerford through in their Class C Mark II escort. Rallies.info is where you need to be if you want your live results. Currently in Class A then, our 1400 class. William, Gary, Lees, Sarah Jane Cool leading the way. Quite a good lead as well over Mark Constantine, Andrew Constantine in their Corsa, and the third of the Corsas only 30 seconds back from that second position. We just saw them a few minutes ago. Simon Hunter, Howard Pridmore in the Super 1400 Vauxhall Corsa. Class B sees John Terre, Robert Turton, who were hustling that Ford Puma hard, weren't they? Leading the way. These are the rally overall and class leaderboards, by the way, not necessarily the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship registered crews. We'll run through that ahead of the next live stage. Lewis Gatt, Tony Edwards second in Class B at this stage, and only 14 seconds back as well. Michael McKenna, Harry Walshaw through, and yeah, Spotlight's already bolted onto the front of that Astra. Ready for the dark. Well, you don't need those spotlights right now because it's glorious sunny weather here on the Isle of Man, as you can see. Third place then, we've just seen them through in the first of the Citroen C2s that we saw through. Max Murray, Matty Owen, third place in Class B. And again, not that far back. What are they, 23 seconds, 24 seconds back in that class. Only 4 stages in, it's doable. It's not a done deal, nowhere near just yet. John Devlin, John McCarthy leading the way in Class C. On the event results, Sam Adams, Michael Johnson, second place. And it's 13-second, nearly 14-second advantage. Rory McCann, Paul McCann in the Honda Civic in third place. A further 17 seconds back. Michael Savino, Liam Ruddock on your screen, bunny hopping that 205 GTI Peugeot up through the right-hander. I haven't seen anyone else bounce the car. It must have been a bit of a wide line through that junction right. We've seen a few people bouncing over the cattle grid where the compression comes into play, but that bottom junction has not been that unsettled for most of the people. Jeff Glover, Keith Barker came 38th on the opening round of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship in what has to be one of the most immaculate and well-prepared cars I have ever seen. He's contested more rounds of this championship as Jeff in that car than anybody else. Let that one sink in, and it's a rear-wheel drive Mark III Astra with that wide track. It looks absolutely fantastic, and if you do get a chance either in this service area or if you're at one of the future rounds, don't walk past that car. Stop and have a look. Inside, outside, under the bonnet. It is absolutely immaculate. And a really well bolted together bit of kit. Jeff was looking forward to today's rally. Spoke to him yesterday. He was just sat, just chilling, waiting for scrutineering at the TT Grandstand in Douglas, of course, the scene of what will become a hotbed of tourism and motorsport activity in a couple of weeks' time as the TT comes to town. Right now, though, and we all know what wins, don't we? 4 wheels. Yes, it's the rally that's come to town here on the Isle of Man. And this morning, walking down the harbour side in Douglas and just listening to the thrum of rally cars making their way to and from the shakedown stage at the top of Marine Drive. Just hear the cars just bombing along was, well, it was enough to lift your spirits. Mick Quinn, Mike Percival through in their Class C Clio. Anthony Allery then didn't finish either the first round of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship in that Escort, nor did he finish the Chris Kelly Memorial Rally here on the Isle of Man recently either. Richard Bonner alongside. Anthony will be hoping his championship campaign gets off the ground here at rounds 2 and 3. Plenty of points, as we've already set up for grabs, with 2 of the rounds represented here on the Isle of Man across the 2 days of competition. Although the overall rally results will be decided at the end of 17 special stages. It's the first 9 stages that will decide the leaderboard for the second round. Just going to try and get my words out in the right order. The second round of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. The third round comes up tomorrow, with the rally splitting into the 2 days and 2 rounds, giving crews double the value, I guess, as far as their championship campaigns are concerned, to coming across here to the island. But yeah, just going back to the atmosphere on the island, I popped in to get a coffee in Starbucks in Douglas this morning while I waited to get picked up by the TV crew. In fact, it was Paul Wakely, a man who, one of the championship coordinating crew, who will join us for a bit of a chat on the live stream, perhaps this evening. Of course, as co-driven, probably most notably, for Callum Black in that Rally 2 Fiesta. Currently second place, 13 seconds back from the lead, currently held by David Wright. And Paul Wakely picked me up, but shortly before that we were in Starbucks, and the guy behind the counter there, I asked to borrow a stapler for my notes, and he was like, "Oh, are you out on the rally?" It's a big deal to the locals here. It's still a big source of the island's income and tourism, and do you know what, the interest from the rest of the world, it makes this island unique. It's motorsport heritage, not just the perhaps most spoken about element of the motorsport here on the island, the TT, but also the various rallies. There's the third of the local Vauxhall crews that are in that 3-car team that I saw looking splendid in the service area earlier. Peter Morgan, David James Price in Class C in that Chevette. They're the 2 cars in that lineup, the Opel Cadets that we've already seen through. Producer Wayne discussing dinner plans for later with the rest of the team on our WhatsApp group and making me hungry. Where are we going for dinner, Producer Wayne? The Chippy. Right. I can live with that. We're by the seaside after all. And the Chippy's here on the Isle of Man. In fact, you must have a favourite Chippy, because Paul Morris, our hard-working championship coordinator, drove down. He's given me a bit of an island tour yesterday, since I haven't been here for nearly 10 years. And he went, "Oh, there's Wayne's Chippy." Your fish and chip shop behaviour. Oh! Sorry, we must stop talking about fish and chip shops at the moment, because George Merrills and Colin Blunt came hurtling over that first jump, almost burying the nose of that Honda Civic in the second jump, and then almost burying the back end in the undergrowth at the top of the shop before the car went out of view. George Merrill, who currently lives on the island here in the Isle of Man, his mum is at home on the mainland, and she's not here because she's looking after the dog. She referred to the dog in very rude terms on Facebook. It's a kids' show, isn't it? Mind you, the kids are all at school, aren't they? I can probably say the word knobhead, can't I? On the live stream, if I'm quoting somebody, at 3:05 in the afternoon on a Friday here in the Isle of Man. Producer Wayne's not quite sure whether I should have said that or not. But that Civic was flying over the jumps there, wasn't it? I can't believe I've just said that on live rally coverage. Oh. It was a quote. Michael Dowling, Stephen Buckley, over from Ireland, not registered for Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship points. And I do wonder if a few of the crews out competing on what is effectively, well, not effectively, what is technically 2 rounds of the championship this weekend will put a good result in, and then maybe rue their decision not to have run under the banner of the championship in order to score points, because there's a chance, isn't there, that you could come away with a good haul of points and a decent springboard to your championship campaign. Wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity now, would you? Do let us know where you're watching from. It's always good to know where we're reaching and in what context we are entertaining you with our live coverage here at Special Stage. Colin Niverton, very quick through in that BMW Compact. Not one lift going up the hill, was there? Just kept it absolutely pinned. You just heard the car kind of almost groaning under the weight loading as it went around that junction up the hill, and almost bottomed out in the compression. They'd taken the spare wheel well out of the bottom of that BMW as he went up the hill there on full chat. Nice little bit of commitment. A bursting entry of 140 competitors here on the 2023 Manx Rally. I think the comments I heard yesterday about Manx rallying being back to its best so far seem to have stacked up, don't they? I don't think we spoke too soon at all there. And it's great to see the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, the most prestigious asphalt rally championship in the world. My opinion, but also true, biased or not. It's great to see the Manx Rally back as a staple feature of the championship calendar. 2 rounds this year, back to back. As you see, Russ Mason and Wendy Mason through. We saw on Facebook earlier, or I saw, you heard me talk about Ed James back in the service area with his screens on, watching the special stage live stream. Normally, it's him and his Rally Nuts Nissan Micra kit car. In fact, I might have to give Stephen Brown a hand with his Nissan Micra 1400 kit car back in service, depending on what the problem is there. Bit of expertise in the micro world, and that expertise being put to good use running that Escort of Russ and Wendy Mason. Ed just as excited as me to be out here on the Isle of Man. Although for somebody who competes regularly and at a high level like Ed does, it must be a little frustrating not to be here in a rally car. Again, just a little bit risky there. From Ian Dobson and Graham Wild getting the RS 1600 Escort a little bit crossed up over those 2 jumps. You've got to get that right. Hello to Dan Halpin, Kirsty Mockery. Dan's watching from Ireland. So is Thomas Lyons, actually enjoying our coverage in Cavan, Ireland. I'm going over for my first ever trip, would you believe it? Not just for rallying, but ever to Ireland for the Down Rally. When's that, Wayne? Is it July? Can't wait, actually. I was chatting to some of the organisers from the Down Rally last night over dinner. They were just whetting my appetite as well for some Irish rallying. Of course, I've tuned into our various special stage coverage over the years from Ireland, but I haven't actually, for one reason or another, usually due to scheduling and wherever the shows and other rallies are, got myself over there. So cannot wait to join you all over in Northern Ireland for the Down Rally. And I'm also out on the Jim Clark at the end of the month, which will be the next round of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship from the borders of Scotland, one of my favourite events in the world. I don't think there's a better way to travel around the borders of Scotland than in a fire-breathing tarmac rally car. Can't wait for that one at the end of the month. So, yeah, busy old year when it comes to the live rallying special stage live, and with highlights packages in the Seacon UK Rally Show on the first Friday of every month from every round of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, as well as the BTRDA Gravel Series as well, of course. And various other events thrown into the mix alongside. Roger Priestnall is watching with us. Andrew McGrath is watching from West Cornwall, marshalling for the TSH stages down there tomorrow. Good luck to you. Hope you have a good day and the weather's something like as blue skied and glorious as it is here in the Isle of Man. Blue skied, that's not really a it's not really a phrase, is it? Not technically. Hello to Jason Taylor, watching from South Cave in East Yorkshire, where I'm from. I grew up in South Cave. My parents still live down the meadows in the West End, so good to have you watching from presumably the school I went to. Where are you picking the kids up from, Jason? You see Andrew Foster and Chloe Percival in their course, a little bit spread out at this end of the entry. There were a couple of delays this morning. We were already delayed 20 or so minutes into the first stage of the day, so clearly there's been a couple of things to be ironed out at this end of the entry list. Roger Priestnall wishing he was here. We wish you were here as well, Rog. And in the car as well, if you don't mind. Gary Shaw, Stephen Christian in their 208 R2. Something about naturally aspirated, or any really, French rally car just sounds so raspy and manic, don't they? We were watching some coverage from, what year was that coverage we were watching the Manx Rally from the other day in the special stage van on the Border Counties, and it was the 306 Maxi featured. it was a good year, though, wasn't it? We had McGann, Formula 2 Maxes. Might have been, was it 99 when Tapio Laukinen won the BRC? And when he took the record for the fastest time on the longest ever stage to run here in the Isle of Man, which was called Miller Risk, if you remember that. Bit of nerdy factoid for you. 21.46 miles, nothing quite as long as that. This year, the longest stage this year is, I think, it's the Baldwins tomorrow, you know, because it's 12.6 miles long. Next to that, it's Newtown, which is 11.9, not much in that, but good miles to get your groove and get your teeth into. Today, slightly shorter mileage on most of the stages, although Barra-Garou that we had at stage 3 and we have again later this evening, stage 8 is 8.4 miles long. And Little London that we're in for the final stage of the day that goes live at just about 8:45 this evening is 11.5 miles long. 20:37 the official time for our live coverage. So it's some good mileage, not quite 21.46 miles of Miller Risk from 1999 when Laukinen took the BRC in the frantic McGann kit car. God, the cars and the names and the championships that have been won and fought on these lanes over the years. It's quite spine-tingling standing here. Just running very much out of order there. Jerry Fitzel, Mark Mason in that Rothmans liveried Mark II Escort. Oh, it doesn't say Rothmans on the side. What does it say on the side? I've forgotten now. I even saw it and took a picture of it this morning as well, because it always looks good. It's one of those cars. I must have so many pictures of Jerry Fitzel's Pro Tyre emblazoned Rothmans-ish. Bothmans, that's what it says, yeah. I must have so many pictures of that on my phone, because you walk past it, you think, oh, I've got to take a picture of that. I know I took a picture of it a week ago, but I've got to take a picture of it because it looks awesome. But running slightly out of, well, I say slightly out of road order, seeded at 56th, and they came 5th in Class D, let's not forget, in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship leaderboard at the opening round, the Reed Group East Riding stages, from 25th on the overall leaderboard. So I would say that seeding of theirs is on point, but they were well down the order here. For some reason, maybe a problem on the road section, just dropping back, but that's quite a way to drop back, isn't it? Maybe they were reseeded this morning for some reason. Let's not dwell on it, let's not overthink it, because clearly they're still running. Can't be anything majorly wrong. Hello to Jack Birch and Adam Burkhill, just joined us. If you are just tuning in, welcome to Special Stage. This is our live coverage of the 2023 Manx Rally. It is rounds 2 and 3 of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. And this is stage 4. And quite a stage as has been as well. We've got an iconic section of stage, of course, for you here. Just coming down on Ingebrigtsen over the 2 jumps after the Sartfield hairpin that's out of view at the top of this stage. We're about halfway through this, what is it? Just over 6 mile stage, and I think this is our only, it's our only use of Ingebrigtsen, this formation of the stage, format of the stage. On this 2 days, 17 stages in total, 137.5 miles of competitive stage mileage. In addition, 121 road miles total mileage for our crews if they make it to tomorrow's finish back in Douglas of 259, just over 259 miles. That's a marathon, isn't it? And I was talking to the organisers of the rally, and Mark Ellison, who is the man behind the changes that have been made really to the Manx Rally, and he was delighted with the response that he's seen from the competitors and the bumper entry from upping the mileage. And it's been a really successful change really, because everybody was raving about the stages after yesterday's recce, and there's been some really good action today in just the first 4 stages. So it's fantastic to think that we're going to be still rallying this time tomorrow. Do love to see something a little different out, and that B series engine just rumbling away. And David Milcreast's and Alan Carter's H2 spec MGB. We got a couple of cars in close succession here on the stage. I could hear a horn. No. I think we've got, is it a puncture or broken suspension or something at the back of this Corsa? Yeah, they've obviously clumped something because Jake Clegg and Gavin Clegg in that Class A Corsa, you can see it just swaying around at the back, and the mud flap is visibly hanging off on the rear right of that car. Not what Andy Scott and Ian Robertson, who are registered for Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship points, will want to come across in this fourth stage of the day. Let's hope that that course can get well out of the way. You can smell, don't you, hot rubber clearly dragging that wheel, maybe bent or broken a stub axle or something earlier on in the stage, but certainly got problems. Let's hope that Andy Scott can get his way past in that Mark II Escort without much trouble, because you don't want to get caught behind a slow-moving car on these fast-flowing stages. There's plenty of time to be lost out here in these Manx lanes, and not always much place to pull over and let someone past. Oh, nice bit of air. Kevin Jeffrey and Bonnie Papa will be celebrating inside the car at that nice line through the jump. Local crew in their T-Sport Corolla in Class C. Bonnie Papa is fairly new to rallying. She's been in with Colin Minton in the Fiesta R5 in the BTRDA Gravel Series. They're not registered for the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship points, but perhaps with a performance like they look like they're putting in on the stages in that Corolla, they should be, and making the most of their efforts this weekend, converting them into championship points towards the leaderboard. But Bonnie's been quite vocal on social media. She's been putting quite a lot of content out. She's clearly enjoying her rally adventure, and you can follow Bonnie. She's quite keen that you follow her adventures on Instagram particularly. Bonnie Papa Motorsport. Scott Flynn, Lee McKinley. Can't see a Nova in dealer team Vauxhall colours on an iconic rally like the Manx and not think of Dave Metcalf. Sounds strong, doesn't it, that Nova? Just going up the hill and getting the power back on. Quite a lot of you saying that you wish you were here and that you wish you were competing. Well, I am here. I've got that much on you, but I wish I was competing as well. Jack Birch watching with us. Hello to you. If you're just tuning in, don't worry. You can watch the whole of this stage back later on at your leisure. You can also watch the short stream that we did with a bit of thought and a bit of reflection ahead of this weekend's Manx rally from some of our competitors. Well, some quite notable names no longer with us on the entry after, for example, Darren Atkinson having a big off in Barragaroo, the stage before this one, and he nailed his colours to the mast at that interview at the start at Douglas. I do have a watch back on that, and also Phil Bramill's coverage of the first couple of stages of the Manx rally. Greg Pike, Hen Cotty, their Class C Ibiza, very production spec. It looked good last night at scrutineering with its spotlight pod bolted on, that rear spoiler that the sporty Ibizas had. They weren't FRs then, they were Cupras, weren't they? Had on to mirror the rally cars back in the day. It looks like a very production spec car though, on quite soft lumbering suspension, which will be quite a handful on these bumpy stages. Mentioned earlier, there's quite a lot of off and online bumps and quite a few nuances to your positioning, such as the jumps that you've got on your screen. Watch now, this car, in order to get a straight line through the jumps, if you're going to be flat, has to be nice and tight into the bank on the left. But no, you see, lucky to keep that Mini in a straight line. Stephen Higgins with Corey Powell-Jones alongside in that H1 Cooper S. Great to see it out, by the way. Here's that RC40 exhaust, I presume it will be, combined with the whine of the straight cut gearbox. There's an unmistakable sound to a Mini rally car, isn't there? A classic Mini rally car, that is. Although John Goff is here and he runs the modern BMW Mini Cooper Challenge, of course, and would argue that there's also a very unmistakable sound to those cars as well. There's an unmistakable price saving to be had. You can have a fully competitive car for about $5,500, I think he was saying yesterday. But yeah, Stephen Higgins, you saw going over those jumps, was talking about keeping it nice and tight so you don't have to do any steering. But the Mini came over that first of the jump and had to steer and correct the angle of approach to the second jump. We could use posh words like trajectory, couldn't we, if we can get them out of our mouths. But if you keep it nice and tight to the bank, let's see what the second of the Minis does. Well, perhaps not going quick enough to worry too much in a classic Mini. There's always a decent contingent of H1 Mini Cooper S's out on the Manx, and I love to see them, I love to hear them. And do you know what? The one bit that you can't do from where you are is smell them. And let me tell you, they smell good as well. Andrew O'Hanlon and Kevin Hogan in their H1 Cooper S Mini. It's a shame they're not registered for the Pro Time Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship points, because that is quite a hotly contested H1 class. Love sniffing a Mini on a Friday afternoon. Producer Wayne always comes out with the goods, not all of which you could publish on a live rally coverage programme. Should see Peter Horsborough's Mini up next, so a bit more Mini sniffing coming up from me, and you get to enjoy, just listen to the whine of the straight cut gearbox, and let's have a look if this line over the jumps towards Brandywell Cottage on this Ingebrigtsen stage. No, the Mini's all taking a very centre line. Oh, look at those 4 spotlights. Hella spotlights, perhaps not quite in period, but we will lay him off. That almond green Mini Cooper S, glinting in the Isle of Man sunshine. The chrome blinding in this almost tropical weather here on the Isle of Man. A lovely day to be by the seaside, bringing you live rally coverage. Now, what I'm hoping I can persuade producer Wayne to do, but it does depend on our rally time. He's looking like, oh God, what's Woodford going to suggest now live on air? Is that we can wait for the sweeper car through the stage, because the sweeper car is something very special. It's a Saab 99. It's not a turbo. Is it the EMC? But it's a great looking car. So if we've got time, we'll see what we're looking like for time when we get to the end of the entry. But I would like to see that sweeper car through, because I had a good look around it at scrutineering yesterday, and it's a glorious bit of kit. I'm going to post some pictures on social media later. But from one historic car to another, here's Paul Taylor, Gemma Taylor alongside. Most of these Minis featuring in our various special stage Manx rally programmes over the years. As I say, always a good contingent. And I can't think of many more fun rally cars to chuck around these Manx lanes than a Mini. Certainly going to be a more forgiving car than some on these bumpy stages. And especially when you've got 4 or 5 Minis running together on the entry, it makes for quite a little battle. Les Alfrey should be up next in his, and he did join us at the opening round of the championship, albeit not registering for points. It's not him though, this is actually Kay Thompson. Charlotte Wainwright alongside, caught up with Charlotte. Oof, that micro just back end hopping up into the air on that compression, and Charlotte will have called something like narrows through gateposts, and she probably wondered if they were going to make those gateposts, because it was a bit of hedge gatepost road, hedge gatepost, but they did make the gatepost. Charlotte has been rallying as long as I have, and always like to see Charlotte in the service area. We chatted last night, and Kay's parents are here supporting them this weekend on the Isle of Man. Now, they did this rally 40 years ago, Kay's parents, and they stayed in the same hotel 40 years ago on the Isle of Man that they're staying in this year. And they're also still road rallying as well in their 60s. Now that's a great story, isn't it, for a Friday afternoon here on the Isle of Man. Kay Thompson, Charlotte Wainwright really pushing hard on that micro, as is Connor Derrick, Bailey Bryson and Connor Farmer in that Class A Corsa. Remarkable how much that micro kicked its rear axle up in the air, isn't it? On what a compression that really not many of the other cars appear to have found going up the junction right up the hill. Just very stiff at the back, clearly. But pleased to say that Kay and Charlotte, despite probably having a fairly twitchy moment and perhaps a crafty glance from the co-driver to say, wow, well held, as they went up the hill, they are still running, and we will see them later in the day if they make it through this fourth stage of the day. 17 miles make it 17 miles, 17 stages, 137.5 miles, making up the competitive stage mileage of this year's Manx Rally. Manx rallying back at its best. This is rallying's favourite and perhaps one of British rallying's most famous away days. This is the Manx Rally, and we're over here for the second and the third round of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. We're watching live coverage from Special Stage, which will continue throughout the day. Guy Butler, Julia Perry through stage 4 in their modern Mini. And we haven't got any more Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship registered crews to come through this stage. But we will bring you the rest of the entry, and if we're lucky, we might just get a glimpse at that really smart Saab 99. And we'll have a look through the leaderboard as well once our cars have finished coming through the stage. Watching from Dexter, Michigan is Warren Martin. Good to have you with us. Are there any Mini Coopers entered? I love British rallying. Well, Warren, I hope you've been watching for the last 5 or 6 cars, because there have been quite a few historic and modern rally minis through. Brian Kemp says, hi Paul, nice bit of sunshine there. Do you know what, Brian? You couldn't be more right. It's a lovely bit of sunshine, and actually there was a lot of wind when we first walked into this stage, whether it's the trees breaking or whether it's just died down. There's no wind, it's bright blue skies. Producer Wayne is ruining his decision not to wear sunscreen, and I'm wondering if I should perhaps have put a little more on my big forehead, as Phil Bramwell very kindly pointed out at the, the last round. Tim Andrews there, Walter Brightson in their Micra. Not quite having the drama that Kay Thompson and Charlotte Wainwright had in their similar car a few cars ago. But carrying the momentum well up the hill. This must be quite a rewarding bit of stage, actually, in a lower powered rally car, because you can keep your foot pinned, and well, you can in a fast one as well, but just really gather your momentum up, keep the car as straight as possible, carry as much speed as possible, and just keep your foot mashed to the floor as long as you possibly can. Sounds fun, doesn't it? It looks just as fun as it sounds as well. Stood here stage side in the Ingebrigtsen stage, as we got a very twitchy sideways Mini Clubman of Eric Davis and Russell Joseph. I've got a real thing about Mini Clubmans, and I was lucky enough to get to drive one recently at the Great British Car Journey in the Great British Car Share Classic Car Series that Sarah Crabtree and I are doing. It was the Mini Clubman Estate. But yeah, just a great fun car. I'd love to be driving one here on these bumpy, twisty, undulating, fast and flowing Manx lanes on the Manx Rally. Maybe one day, eh? How many times do we say that in our lives? Maybe one day. Got an email from Motorsport UK saying if I don't renew my licence this year, I'll lose my entitlements. Perhaps that's the sign that I need. As you see, Carl Wagstaff and Mark Wagstaff in their Class A Micra, keeping their foot pinned, as I mentioned. I mean, Kay Thompson's car must just be far stiffer at the back than any of the others of the Micras, because they've all managed quite happily without bunny hopping their way towards the posts on either side of the cattle grid going up the hill there, where you can see the marshals and the orange arrows. But yeah, I'm going to watch that one back when I've finished bringing you this live stream, because that was quite a good bit of car control from Kay. Whether intended or not, she hung on to it for dear life, and they'll live to fight another stage. Talking of which, the next stage you can follow live here on Special Stage is the next stage of the rally, but there's a bit of a break because it's leg 2 coming up at 6:45 this evening, 18:44 to be exact. And we'll be doing stage end interviews after that stage, which is the 5th stage of the day, Kerristal. Get a bit of reaction from our crews. Then we'll be live in 6 and 7. It's a quick fire pair of short blasts through Balladul. Brought to you by Phil Bramwell at about 7:15. Then we'll bring you the full entry once again through the last stage of the day, which will be Little London. 8:45 this evening, 20:37 to be exact. Plenty of live rallying for you this evening. Then here on special stage, you see Stephen Conn and Cara Griffin through in their Fiesta R2 Turbo, rattling across the cattle grid. And then tomorrow, I was counting them up, 5 stages will be live with you for. We'll have stage end interviews from the first stage of the day in Newtown. Be with you about 20 to 10 in the morning. And then we will have stage action from stage 11, the Curras, stage 13, the Baldwins, which will feature Brandywell Cottage. Looking forward to that one. And stage 15 as well. There's Mark Johnson with Stephen Butler alongside in their Micra. And then we'll be back at the TT Grandstand for the celebrations at the finish and all the reaction from our leading crews. And also we'll find out who is in the draw to win that rally-models.co.uk Ford Focus WRC model of Jason Pritchard. Manx rally winning model, no less. Oh, we've got a Mini that is demonstrating the point very nicely. And just buzzing the gearbox and the engine in fright after that. Shinobu Kitani, Hiroko Kitani alongside in that Mark 1 Mini Cooper S, getting very, very lucky coming over that jump. As I mentioned, if you are steering the wheel, if you are repositioning the car between those 2 jumps, well, good luck to you, because as you saw then, I mean, producer Wayne is just he's still exhaling and shaking his head at just how lucky we were not to have a Mini off into the undergrowth. And I'm pleased that we got to, yeah, I'm right. You see, you can see that I'm right. If you don't get the positioning right, that's what happens. And we got to have a nice demonstration of the point without any bent metal, which is good. Just I should imagine there'll be a rather gloomy smell inside that car as that Mini heads off into the second half of this 4th stage of the day. Producer Wayne's still shaking his head, and he's seen some big offs in this part of the world. Steve Perez crashing just past where our camera location is. In fact, just past where we are now. Lower down, we were on the bank, but just below us was a big accident quite a few years ago. Bob Foster, Dave Teasdale, just a few cars left on the entry through this 4th stage of the day to bring to a close this first leg of the rally. 21.5 miles make up this first leg of the day. Leg 2 is 32 miles. Oof. That Suzuki Swift of Keelan Beattie and Macklin Wilson took the perfect line across those jumps, taking a chunk of the, just digging the dust really out of the bottom of the bank on the left of your shot coming into view and just keeping it straight, and the foot mashed, that throttle mashed to the floor. Bit of lift off oversteer on the right-hander going out of your shot. Yeah, 32 miles on this evening's leg, and sunset's at around 11 minutes past 9 this evening, so just thinking we're going to see quite a bit of night action this evening with the final stage of the day. So the spot lamps will be on, they'll be bringing the daylight in the lanes here on the Isle of Man. That's going to be quite some atmosphere, so make sure you do tune in. The next live stage here in the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, to remind you once again, is 18:44 to be exact. Let's call it 6:45. Tune in a little early, get your drinks chilled, and let's have a night of live rally action from the Isle of Man. Let's enjoy some rallying together this evening on Special Stage, and let's do it all over again tomorrow as well. Whatever you're doing this weekend, factor in this live rallying, because, well, it's quite the spectacle. And once again, to agree with a comment that I heard yesterday from one of our competitors about the entry list, Manx rallying is back at its best. Just hanging on to see if we can see this sweeper car, this Saab 99 through the stage. It will celebrate its 43rd birthday in a couple of weeks' time, this car. And I know I've given it a really big build-up, and I really hope it comes through soon, because we're going to have to dart off, aren't we, to get to the next location. So I think discretion being the better part of valour on this one, we are going to have to end things there for this fourth stage of the day. So 6:45 this evening, you can tune back in as we bring you more live action as the battle resumes here on the Isle of Man for leg 2 on the first day of competition for rounds 2 and 3 of the Pro Tyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. This is the Manx Rally. It's live on Special Stage, and we'll be back with you very soon. Thank you for tuning in.